All right. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Untherapeutic. Today, we have Arron Muller, another therapist, big time out of New York City, the Big Apple. So I'm excited to connect. I see this man doing some amazing things online. So selfishly, I was, just really looking forward to the dialogue today. It's something that's important, especially in our field. And as therapists, a lot of times people will reach out and they're kind of on the fence when it comes to counseling. So again, going to be an interesting topic, which is how do you know when to reach out for support? I mean, we all go through things, but is what you're going through, does it really warrant you going to counseling or therapy? So before we get into that, Arron, man, just share a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, what you do, and really how you even got into this space.
Okay, so thank you again, Nick, for inviting me onto the show. Again, my name is Arron Muller. On Instagram, I kind of developed the name as the Black Therapist, something I was intentional about when I started social media back in 2015, 16. I started Instagram kind of when it first, started coming out, becoming popular. I wanted to utilize the platform to kind of amplify mental health. Then it was before reels. It was way before videos. It was just pictures. So I would, find things about mental health to talk about. And then when it kind of moved into like actual, videos and stuff, then I would post speaking engagements and things that I was doing. Because I really, especially among, Black men doing events for, especially for Black men, I wanted to highlight the importance of therapy for us, and being a Black male therapist. I want to amplify that because that's something you never really saw. Being in social work school, I was the only cohort, only male in my cohort. So I found that this was a very unique field, and I really wanted to bring more awareness to it. But so again, I'm Arron Muller, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker, and I'm an adjunct professor at Adelphi University, and I also a school social worker, and I started a nonprofit called Modified Wellness. But besides all that, I am a husband and a father of two, Hudson and Harley, and that's my most favorite and most important role, being a husband and a father. So I appreciate that the most.
Man, absolutely, man. That's a full-time job right there in and of itself, just being a husband and a father. So
Absolutely. So, definitely it's important to kind of navigate, find balance, do room for everything else. But what to answer your question, what brought me to this field was definitely, I would say the field found me because I was definitely a business major. And then I was trying to find my way because I wasn't doing too well. So I started taking sociology courses and graduated. And then I started working in addiction. So my first position was a counselor at a methadone program. Okay. And I started doing that. I was 24 years old, and I was bright-eyed, bushy-tailed. And I found that I needed that additional understanding from a clinical standpoint. And that's what encouraged me and urged me to go back to school to kind of get a more deeper understanding of on a deeper level. So I went back social work school and found different positions, community mental health. I did executive positions for a minute, but then I really knew I really wanted to get into direct care work. Private practice is always a dream of mine. So my wife and I started Life Matters in 2016. That's something that was really important to us, especially in our area in New York.
That's awesome, man. Look, I've been meaning to ask you too how you got into the field, because mental health is kind of taken off as of late. But whenever someone's been in the field, especially as a Black man, for say 10 years, right? You kind of got into it when it wasn't as popular. I remember when I said, hey, because I was a business major initially as well, which is ironic, but obviously, that didn't really work out. but my
Well,
heart was
sort of,
always
kind of, because you have the practice, right? So it's this
yeah,
business
it did, you
lens.
know, I mean, and I definitely leverage it in a lot of ways, at least when it comes to running a business. But I remember kind of going into social work and being a little, you know, I mean, social work really wasn't sexy, you know, especially from a
Right.
man's perspective. Especially you got people on Wall Street, finance, real estate. It's like, yeah, I'm a social work. It's like, oh, okay, that's really good, you know. So it's something that definitely has to be close to the heart. And so when I connect with another brother that's in this space and has been doing it for a minute, I definitely know your heart's in it and you're passionate about it. Because again, when we started over a decade ago, mental health wasn't getting the attention that it is now. And
No, it
so,
really wasn't. It really wasn't. But I'll tell you something, Nick. Um, when I sat in those classes, I really, my dream was, I'm like, yo, I'm gonna make mental health dope. That
mhm,
was my goal.
yeah,
And and my intention was I wanted to maintain my authenticity.
mhm.
So I'm not a shirt and tie type of dude. I only wore this because, for your show.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah.
generally
I
I
got
have
hoodie
on
shorts up under this, so you know it's all good.
generally I have on a hoodie, I have on a sweatshirt, and I come as my authentic self. In person, I'm having on jeans, I'm having on sneakers. I'm coming as who I am. You understand? That doesn't dictate the work that I perform and what I do. You understand? So I said I really wanted to show America, show the world
Mhm.
that there could be a black male therapist with dreads or with a beard or wear sneakers or wear fitted and still be professional and still be able to provide a service and support our clients. And
Mhm.
that's something that I've maintained since then. I've always been happy that how to show up authentic and be
Yeah,
myself.
I think a lot of the people we work with, if you showed up any other way, you really wouldn't connect, you know,
Right,
because people sense when you really are authentic. You know what I mean?
right.
So, man, so the topic for today is again, how do you know when to reach out for help? You know, I always tell people, obviously, I'm biased as a therapist. I'm gonna say, man, everybody needs to go to therapy, right? But when do you what advice would you have, like beyond the overall value of just therapy in general? What are some signs that someone needs to reach out for help?
Well, I think there's several signs. One, if you have not been yourself for a period of time, is unexplainable, and no matter how you're trying to reset, it's not working. If you find yourself thinking things that you never used to think, maybe you're not going to work, you're maybe not functioning like how you used to, you're not going to school, you're calling out more, maybe not eating as you used to, or not sleeping like you used to, or even a traumatic event happened to
Mm,
you. Like, I feel like there's different things for different people, but whatever has been a shift in your life, and you notice that you are not operating as you used to, I think that's a reason to kind of do an inventory, do a
yeah,
self check, and now kind of take an analysis of what's happening with me. Can I
yeah,
do this by myself? And then from there, recognize should maybe I might need to talk to someone.
yeah.
Maybe I
And what
might need
about
to. Hmm?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, do you think there's a time limit on it? So, you know, because I have days where I'm like, man, I ain't feeling it today. You know, where's
Yeah.
that threshold?
No, I think, and like I say, it's ongoing. Like, say if you can't attribute it to something, maybe something happened. Even if something happened, like, has it been a month or 2 months or 3 months? Recognizing that things are kind of not in alignment anymore, or things are getting out of control, things are falling apart, or you is affecting your like I said, your work, or is affecting
Mhm.
school, is affecting your family. That may take 3 weeks, that may take a day. If you Especially if you are the sole, person in the house, if you like if it's making an impact,
Yeah,
it definitely should do something and check it out and go to your medical doctor also, because I always like to rule out medical. So
mhm,
really, check with your doctor, and if it's not anything medical, then you might need to contact someone. It's hard to put a definitive time on it, because I
yeah,
feel like is every situation varies depending on what somebody's going through. Some people could last a long time,
Yeah.
right? Even if things are not functioning well, but you do
Mhm.
recognize that things are not functioning well. So my
Yeah.
first, urgency is if things are not focusing well, or
Yeah.
things are not going the way you used to. You're not functioning like you used to. You're not going to school. You're calling out. You're calling out. It's been 6 months. You've been calling out every day.
Yeah, man. I think you're right. Again, because no one wakes up and is like, oh, it's been 3 days. You just know that over a period of time, consistently, things just
You be
haven't
like,
been the same.
yeah, yeah. I don't know. I'm not myself. Or people recognizing it, or people are telling you it, right? Like, so being open to that too, like,
Hmm.
and that's the hard part. Like, one, you may not want to listen, man, the energy to listen, but really recognizing that, and being honest with yourself too, because I think that's a big part too. A lot we'll rationalize it. We'll say, well, because, or you're like, nah, not really. That's not true. Like, really being honest with yourself and saying, you know what, I am not okay.
Yeah. No, man. Even to that point, what do you think are some of the barriers for people? Because again, you may have the thought like, I really need to talk to someone, but then that other voice kicks in and is like, man, you good. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Or it ain't that bad. Or you got that one friend that gives you not the best advice. So what are some of the barriers that you see when people come to you that has prevented them from reaching out sooner?
Well, one is, listen, I'm just gonna wipe these thug tears and keep it moving. Like I'm a no limit soldier.
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever saying you have in terms of defense mechanism you use,
Mm.
or I'm just gonna pray on it. God's gonna work it out.
Yeah,
That's
can't
very
forget the
common,
Lord.
right? Right. So we attribute it to that. That give his battles to us to see, if we're going to maintain and continue to pray and trust in him, right?
Mhm.
And or like some people are like, I can't fall apart, so I can't, I got to keep moving. There's no time. I don't have time to go to no therapy, or there's none in my area, or there's I don't even know how to start, or I've seen it on TV. I'm good on that, or I don't want to be labeled because there's this black book that follows you forever
Mhm.
once you go to therapy. Like, there's this notion that there's this like book that's like listed, in the Guinness, Book of Records,
People
that
can
that
see it on
you,
your shirt, right? Like, man, I'm in
yeah, yeah,
therapy.
like, yeah. So it's been painted that, oh, once I don't want this record to follow me, that I went to therapy. So there's so many different reasons as barriers. It may be a financial cost, or health insurance, or or not knowledgeable about it.
Mhm.
So many factors that kind of get in the way, and
Yeah.
legitimate, right? And legitimate because people, that's how you feel, right?
Yeah, yeah, it is, and that's what I think. That's what makes it so difficult, is because everything you mentioned to some extent is a legitimate reason. When
Mhm.
you think about, well, you should pray about it, or there is a cost factor that's involved, or are you tripping, or it like all of these things are kind of going through your head, and it really does become difficult at times to really sort through what's real versus what's really preventing me from doing what I need to do, which is reach out for help. Do you think it's different for men and women? I know you talk about, hey man, men sometimes like, hey man, you just gonna thug it out, like you gonna be straight. But what
Mhm.
about for women? What are some of the barriers that you've seen for women when it comes to whether or not they should reach out for help?
Well, we know that the history show that women are more likely to go to therapy. Women are more likely to talk about their problems. One, in their sister circles, they would process and then get therapy, or maybe do both, right? Have their sister circles, have their village, and go to therapy. So I think historically women are more likely, more inclined to get the support. With the research shows that men are least likely to get
Yeah,
therapy. Men are least, like black men especially, are least
I was
likely
gonna say,
to
especially
talk
us.
about it. Right. So let's say that some black women don't have, or some women say, no, 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 but because I've had fair share that say, I'm not really sure about this. But
Mhm.
by and large, women are more likely to go to therapy.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. Not to say that they don't come up against their own barriers, but I agree.
Right.
I mean, again, I don't know if there's as many barriers, you know. What about for couples? Because a lot of couples will come to me and say, we don't know if we should go to therapy or if the problems that we're experiencing warrant therapy.
Right.
Is there any signs for couples? You see what I'm saying? That says, you know what, man, y'all really need to go talk to somebody. Um,
For couples, honestly believe that they don't need to be assigned to go. I think it's absolutely healthy for couples to go. I think
mhm,
the fear is that bringing like they may bring up stuff that may be not an issue or maybe buried or they thought that's been resolved. So
mhm.
it may have some people may have some apprehension about going to couples counseling if there's nothing wrong. But I
Yeah,
feel like that I think that's absolutely not the case. I think it's absolutely healthy to develop and improve and strengthen your communication style, your relationship, and having that space to process um,
mhm,
and develop and learn how to communicate with each other in a more effective way. We see couples wait until sometimes um, things are out of control. So
mhm.
now we're
Ready
coming
to
in with,
divorce
yeah,
steps.
right. So on the doorsteps of divorce and coming in up like and then it's kind of like, well, we tried this, but it's like the level the look at the level, look at the playing field here. It's not
Mhm.
leveled. It's rocky. It's and not to say that it wouldn't work out, but it's really challenging.
Yeah.
Um, and then we have those who come in, premarital counseling and kind of I've been working with a homeboy who he's a LMFT, and he brought up a very interesting point in terms of when people do premarital counseling, kind of the focus kind of like, okay, we want to get married, so let's cater this and move towards marriage, as
Mhm.
opposed to when you come in for dating, and it's not that pressure of, well, we already got the venue paid for, and you already got the tux, and we got the red bottom shoes for everybody.
Mhm.
The
Yeah.
focus is right, so the focus is kind of shifted, as opposed to when you're dating now, it's kind of like, okay, let's learn about each other, continue to gather data. Let's learn how each other operate when we're angry, how to have conversation when we're angry, and kind of develop those skills. So when
Yeah.
situations come up, you have a more understanding of each other. So couples, I think, is a great thing. I've worked with couples for a very long time. Um, Long-term couples I've been working with, not just when things are going uh, not so
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
This is just a continuous maintenance couples that I see every other week.
Mhm.
They've made a commitment that we need this. This is part of our relationship. It's super
Yeah.
important to us to have these sessions, and we could process the challenges, because stuff do come up in terms of like, we have children, we have
Mhm.
work. How can we continue to support each other, and how we can continue to maintain our relationship, and that could get
Yeah.
very challenging sometimes. So the
It makes
section is. Mhm.
no, I said, man, it makes our job a little bit easier when couples sometimes have that vision to know that, man, we can save a lot of time, a lot of energy if we don't wait until we're right at the divorce steps. Because I have couples who reach out, same thing, and literally will say, I'm done with the marriage, and we just want to try this just to see. And I'm just like, man, where y'all been the past 10 years? you know,
Yeah,
like there are so many things that you could have done preventatively
yeah,
on the front end that really could save you a lot of heartache, a lot of headache, and all of that if you just would have sought help sooner. Man, what are your thoughts on couples who aren't married but dating coming to counseling?
no,
I've seen
no, I think that's amazing.
that.
Couples who just started talking to each other and want to come in, kind of, because they may have come in with different, ideas and
Mhm.
differences and opinions. And how can we navigate that? So let's go to therapy, kind of process that, because we want to continue to learn and grow with each other. And I think that's a great thing. People may find it absurd. People may find it that's ridiculous. That you guys are not married yet. But I think it's
Mhm.
a great to have that desire to want to work and build and improve the
Yeah.
relationship. I think is great. You don't necessarily have to wait till marriage.
Mhm.
to start that.
Yeah, I know it's a lot of married couples that probably wish they would have went to counseling when they were dating. So, um,
Probably because they probably may have realized that, you know what, maybe this is not the person for me,
yeah,
or maybe they say, you know what, maybe I'm not the person for them.
hmm
That could have been developed, that could have been discovered also, like, you know what, maybe I need some healing to do. I need to work on some things because I'm coming in with some stuff.
yeah. For the couple that comes to you, and let's just say they probably should have came 5 years earlier. Do you ever feel like it's too late?
Too late is so, it's so strong. That's such a strong term. It's too late. I do feel that maybe so much has happened,
Mhm.
so much hurt has occurred, that people's feelings is so hurt and they can't move past things. But I think people could possibly recover from anything once it is a willingness and an ability to work through it. So I
Yeah.
feel like it's maybe not be too late, but both parties have to be willing and able to do the work. I know that, we say that a lot, but it's really the work. It's really working through your stuff, working through whatever hurt or pain that you experienced
Mhm.
in that relationship, and be able to say, you know what, I can put that aside, or I compartmentalized it, and I've been able to work through it, and I recognize if those feelings come up again, how I handle it, because
Mhm.
that's the thing too, right? It's not just forgiving it, but it's also like, how can, when it shows up again, because it will, because our
Yeah.
body keeps score, our
Mhm.
mind keeps score. You know, what do
It's
I
not
do with that?
anywhere. You're gonna have to deal with it at some point. So,
Yeah, so it's going to come up again. It's going to look like our body going to be like, wow, I remember this feeling before. So what do
mhm.
you do with that? Like, what skills you guys have together? Because you have to be aligned to work through when those situations come up again, how to
Mhm.
handle it so you don't resort back to your old behavior.
Yeah, man. This look, on the individual side, it's never too late. Because as long as you got breath in your lungs, I believe
Right.
that there's opportunity to change. But I was just curious from a couple's perspective because again, people come, they reach out at different points in the relationship. But to your point, man, as long as there's that commitment, what if but
Yeah.
what if one person is committed and the other person is on the fence?
Then that's a challenge, because because that happens a lot. And then I mean, let's keep it real. It might be too late. The other person may have, say, checked out at that point. Then it might be too late. Is this situation where you say, you know what, we really tried, but I just really can't move past this, and I'm going to have to bow out gracefully. And I've
Yeah.
seen, and people have come to counseling and recognize that, you know what, we've tried, and I think the best thing for us is, how can we move forward, whether it be raising the children, or how can we just move forward in in our lives, but not
Mhm.
together anymore.
Yeah. Man, a lot of times what I see happening is one person may be more motivated than the other person, whether it's more motivated to make the relationship work, more motivated to go to counseling. Rarely do I see both people come in and they're both like eagerly ready and willing to fight at the same level. I mean, typically there's some variance. But let's just say someone is really urging the other person to go to counseling. What are your thoughts on that? Like, say someone's spouse is like, you really need to go to counseling. You really need to go to counseling, okay? And then say they actually go. Is there anything that they can do, or anything that they should know to really be supportive of them as they take that step? Or should they even recommend it at all? Is it one of those things where you just need to come to that conclusion on your own?
No, I think encouragement is very important. You want to be, supportive, especially if you're going and you're encouraging your partner to go. I think
Mhm,
also allowing them to see it shine through you,
mhm,
those the work that you're doing, and the process, because people are going to say, you know what, wow, I really noticed that. They may not say anything, but they're taking note. They've seen you responding differently. They've seen that you're are going to therapy regularly. Like, wow, you don't play with your sessions, the intensity of it, how you are passionate about going to therapy, and that you may not speak the same. You're speaking, you maybe appear to be lighter, less stressed. I
mhm.
feel like those are huge indicators where people are like, you know what, I think I might try because I see how his, and everybody has a different turnout, but I really see how you're responding differently. I see that you are lighter. I see that you are able to manage stress a little bit better. Um, but we know that forcing never really um,
Really works.
works.
Yeah.
Work. I really kind of equate it when you're trying to call someone to Christ. Like you can talk about it, you encourage it with them, talk about the goodness of God, but also let it shine through you and allow it to
Mhm.
make their own decision because it needs to be authentic. It needs to be, they have to be willing to make the necessary changes. They have to be the one to make the phone call, to go to
Mhm.
the sessions. They have to be the one to go to church and commit their life to Christ and make those changes.
Mhm.
So I kind of equate it kind of the same
Yeah.
way.
No, that's a perfect analogy, man. You can't take someone and put them in a headlock and take them down to the altar and be like, no, you gonna give your life to Christ today.
Right. Right.
Man, sometimes I see this, and I'm sure you see it as well. Sometimes it's explicit, sometimes it's not, but it's like these last ditch efforts. Okay. Man, say, and I'm just gonna pick on guys for a second. Say your woman's like, man, I want you to work on this, I want you to work on this. And say she out the door, and then the brother be like, all right, I'm about to go to counseling. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? Is it ever effective? Like, can you take that situation and spin it around? Like, what's been your experience with the last ditch efforts? And I can always tell, right? Someone reach out, first thing they say, yeah, my girl. I'm like, okay, here we go. Then they start unraveling the story, and I'm like, okay, what you get caught cheating? What you get a little aggressive? Like, what is it?
Right.
Can you
Those are
turn it?
very interesting.
Yeah, yeah, they are. They are. What are your thoughts on it, man? You think is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Is it just like, hey, you here, so that's good, or is it kind of like, man, if your heart isn't in the right place, then don't even make the effort.
Well, one thing is I appreciate them coming through the door because ultimately they came,
Mhm,
and acknowledge how much they really care about that person, but then also explore, why do you think it's beneficial? Well, I don't really know. And then when you get to unpack, you would see um, that they really need to be there, and
mhm,
that's kind of the goal of like when you start packing, building that relationship, and they start talking, and they start to realize that what I really could benefit from this. In some cases, they've continued on and been very, therapy been very fruitful. But in other
mhm,
cases, when the intention, they may not feel that there's an issue, right? But
mhm.
their partner feel like they should go. That also shines through. So you may see participation decrease, and they may not fulfill their appointments, their appointments.
Mhm.
And then you also know, but you also can't force it either. So you
Yeah,
also recognize that maybe they weren't ready yet. You understand? But ultimately, they were in the door, and we'll explore, and I'm gonna meet them where they at.
yeah,
Get to the root, attempt to get to the root, allow them to kind of connect the dots, and
mhm,
then they can move forward from there. But
yeah,
ultimately, I also don't want to push, push them either, because ultimately this is a voluntary uh, situation that we're
yeah.
in.
Yeah, it is. It really is, man. And you have to be invested in that process. Whatever it is that causes you to get through the door, if you really want to see results, there's going to have to be an investment. And
Right.
that investment is always going to be an investment of your time, commitment, and some effort, right? Some effort and
Right.
willingness to kind of do something different. Man, Aaron, last question. And this is completely off topic, but I'm always curious to get another therapist's thoughts on this. And that is people online. All right, you'll see people who broadcast, I'm going to therapy. You know,
Yeah.
is does this bring awareness to therapy, or do you think this is attention seeking behavior? What are your general thoughts when you see people broadcasting their therapeutic journey online?
Hmm. So I think it's great, one, because they may, you know, allow someone else to see, wow, they go to therapy too, and that's great. And they're like, maybe I'll consider going. I just, as long as they're not like, talking about interventions and to like that. My thing is just in terms of like harm or people thinking that they can just do certain things, because everything is a process and everything takes time. And so I'm all for sharing your journey, acknowledging, especially it's your truth. You have
Mhm.
the liberty and agency to do that. Um, just long as you feel safe, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's
I'm just thinking like a doctor performing surgery on YouTube, and then somebody else wanted to go do it right after,
yeah.
right? So
Yeah, they like,
like
I
my
got
thing is
this.
just about, they be like,
Where my
oh, word,
scalpel at,
that's it,
man?
right,
Yeah,
right. So that's my only
that's
concern.
real.
That people could be like, oh, I could be a therapist. I'm a
Oh,
therapist
yeah.
now. I can,
Man,
right?
that's easy, man. I'm finna,
It,
man, come here,
yeah,
man. Let me talk to you, you know?
right. So it's not that easy. It's not that
Mhm.
easy. Financially, the hours that and supervision and internship and papers and things like that. Like, yeah. So I would never. I wouldn't diminish anybody else's profession. Like, I could be a lawyer. Oh,
Mhm.
I could be a doctor.
Yeah.
I can't be anybody. I can't be anything that I unless I study it and do it.
Mhm.
Then I could be that. So
Yeah.
I kind of have that same thing. Like, I may want to preach, but I can't be a
Mhm.
minister. I didn't go through the trainings. I didn't go, I wasn't, ordained.
Mhm.
So
I'm sure
I
you got
want
a couple good sermons in you, though. I mean, we all got a little something. You catch me on the right day, so
right. Say
no,
so.
I hear
Uh,
you, man, for sure,
yeah. So, but I
There
think it's great that there's a voice now that people are acknowledging. People are saying, that's my therapist is the truth. Or like, I spoke to
yeah,
my therapist and they like, nope, I wouldn't do that. I think that's great because it was very like mum's the word when it came to you in therapy. Like, so I'm glad. I'm so happy. This is what my journey from 2015 was about, normalizing this is,
mhm,
and people probably before me, before there was social media, you
yeah,
understand. So um I'm very truly appreciative of how far we've come when
mhm.
it comes to amplifying the voice of therapy and its benefits.
Yeah. Well, listen, man. I look publicly. I just want to say, listen. I appreciate you. I'm really not a big social media person, but when I first got on, or when I got back on, I was off for like 5 years, and then when I got back on, and I started, putting some stuff out there. There was a little bit of trepidation on my end. I'm still carrying some of that old baggage, but I see cats like you, and I'm like, okay, I ain't the only brother out here. You know what I mean? This doing this social work thing. So, man, salute. I really appreciate it. Aaron, where can people find you at online?
uh
Where to connect with you? Where can
Online, the black_therapist, that's where I do a lot of my work, the black_therapist. I also do Man Mondays on the Jamal Bates Morning Show.
mm,
My other passion is radio. So
okay.
that's my little way of being in radio. So I do Man Mondays where I talk about a topic related to black men every Monday. And that's on the Jamal Bates Morning Show. And it comes on in Florence, South Carolina, and Augusta, Georgia.
Okay.
But I'm on every Monday.
Okay. I love it, man. Well, listen, we'll put that information in the show notes. Until the meantime, man, check out some of the other episodes we have on untherapeutic.com. You could also check out some of the previous episodes on your major streaming platform, Apple, Spotify, all of that. So thanks for tuning in.